Do you want to change your life in a week? Then listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. The first habit that transformed my existence and that can redefine yours is absolute control over the first hours of the day. I'm talking about a habit that doesn't depend on luck, money, or talent. It only requires a firm decision, a simple choice that separates empire builders from prisoners of routine. This habit is called waking up with command, purpose, and ritual. I'm not talking about getting out of bed in a hurry, as if fleeing from an emergency. Nor am I talking about waking up early just for the sake of military discipline. I'm talking about opening your eyes with clarity, with a mission to accomplish, because what defines a man's strength is not the number of hours he has in a day, but what he does with the first ones. The first hours carry the destiny of all the others. And those who waste that beginning waste control over everything else. In my youth, when I was still just a humble worker, I realized that my greatest asset was not the salary I received, but how I used the first 3 hours of the day. The city was still asleep, but I was already awake, with a pen in one hand, a business book in the other, and my mind absorbed in building what others didn't even dare to imagine. While my colleagues were sinking into prolonged sleep, I was already working silently on the foundation of my empire. Those sacred hours before the chaos begins are the only time of day when you can exist fully. No interruptions, no external demands, no noise. It is in this space that the true empire begins, within you. Waking up with intention is an act of sovereignty. It is declaring to the universe that you will not be a victim of life, but its architect. Now, understand deeply what this means. Waking up earlier is not just a change in schedule, it is a change in identity. The simple act of getting up before the world, with a planned routine, already begins to sculpt the mindset of a builder in you. Because it is not the outside world that shapes your destiny, it is how you structure your inner world. And here is the protocol I want you to apply, without fail, for the next 7 days. Wake up 1 hour earlier than you are used to. If you normally get up at 7, wake up at 6. If you already get up at 5, wake up at 4. During that hour, you will do nothing for others. No cell phone, no emails, no social media. This is your foundation hour. Divide this time as follows: 20 minutes of strategic reading, 20 minutes of mindful writing, and 20 minutes of visualization and affirmations. In the first 20 minutes, feed your mind with proven wisdom. Choose books that contain lessons from great leaders, business strategies, management fundamentals, personal development, or applied spirituality. Read with a pen and paper nearby. Underline, take notes, reflect. You are not reading for entertainment, you are reading to equip yourself. In the next 20 minutes, write down your goals. Write down what you have learned. Write down how you want your day to go. When you write, you give shape to the invisible. You transform intentions into structures. It is the first step toward materialization. What is not on paper is unlikely to become real. Writing is the cement of the mind, and in the final 20 minutes, close your eyes and visualize. See clearly the man or woman you are becoming. Visualize your business running, your leadership growing, your habits aligned with your values. Say command statements out loud. I am disciplined. I am strategic. I create wealth with wisdom. I act with courage. You may think it's just empty repetition, but repeat this for 7 days and tell me if your outlook on life hasn't completely changed. This ritual transforms. It rebuilds your identity from the first hour of the day. And I don't care how broke, depressed, confused, or lonely you are right now. You have the power to rule the first hour of your day. And by doing so, you have already begun to rule your own life. What most people don't understand is that life doesn't change with big decisions made once a year. It changes with simple habits, repeated with intention every morning. Do you know why this works? Because the first hours of the day are the only ones when the world hasn't yet screamed for your attention. That's where you plant the seeds of self-control, strategic thinking, and a sense of purpose. And those seeds, watered daily, grow into unbreakable roots. That's how I became indispensable before I turned 25. Not because of favors, not because of connections, but because, while others were still waking up, I had already read, written, and thought. I had already won before the day even began. And that advantage, accumulated day after day, week after week, year after year, allowed me to surpass everyone who had started ahead of me. You may have been born poor. You may have made wrong choices. You may be surrounded by limitations right now, but if you master the first hours of the day, you are taking control of your story. And that is more powerful than any initial capital. Change your morning, and you change your identity. Change your identity, and you change your life. You're not waking up earlier, you're resurrecting the part of you that has been suffocated by distraction, routine, and fear. And if you stick to this ritual for 7 days, you'll find it impossible to give up, because you'll feel the power of being the master of your own mind. Now look inside yourself. Are you ready for this? Are you willing to deconstruct the old, the version of yourself every morning? Are you prepared to face the discomfort of waking up before everyone else and working while no one else is watching? If you are, then you are on the path of empire builders, of leaders who don't wait for motivation, they create motivation with action. This is the first of 5 habits, and it's the most important, because all the others stem from it. If you don't own your dawn, you'll never own an empire. The second habit that changed my life in a week, and can transform yours, is what I call relentless choice of what deserves your energy. I learned early on, through pain and the harsh reality of manual labor, that a human being's mental, emotional, and physical energy is limited, and that how you distribute it determines whether you will be a giant or a spectator. You weren't made to solve everything. Respond to everyone. Be part of every conversation. Be in every group. Read every message. That's distraction. And distraction, when unchecked, becomes destruction. Most people fail not because of a lack of talent, but because of too much dispersion. They jump from idea to idea, project to project, relationship to relationship, and call it pursuit. It's not pursuit, it's escape. While the world rushes around, builders focus. While the many fragment, the few deepen, and you need to decide which group you're going to belong to. Because focus isn't just a strategic advantage, it's a vital differentiator. I used to say, and I still say, focus is my motto first, last, and always. That principle hasn't changed. It's just become more necessary. In practice, this habit starts with a powerful question you should ask yourself every morning. And whenever you are interrupted, does this contribute or distract? This question is your compass. When faced with any invitation, task, or distraction, if it does not directly contribute to your destination, cut it out without mercy. You don't have time to please, justify, or participate in anything that doesn't move you forward. While building my steel empire, I turned down countless opportunities that seemed too good to ignore. Invitations to invest in promising areas, side businesses, even influential friendships that required my presence at parties and meetings that had nothing to do with my purpose. I turned them all down, because I knew every misplaced yes is a no to what really matters. But I didn't just avoid distractions, I replaced them with obsession. My focus was almost fanatical. When I decided to go into the steel business, I breathed steel, studied steel, hung out with steel engineers, read about smelting, exporting, structures, management, and international markets. Nothing outside of steel received my attention. And because of that, in a short time, I surpassed century-old companies that had become complacent. That is the second habit. Cut out what is superficial and amplify what is essential. This applies to everything, to your routine, your commitments, the people you live with. You need to establish a non-negotiable boundary between what you want and what you tolerate. Because what you secretly tolerate governs your life. And here's a point you may never have heard before. It's not enough to want focus. You need to create an environment for focus. Your cell phone cannot be your master. Your home cannot look like a flea market. Your workspace cannot be chaos. Because your environment beats willpower every day. I organized my routine like a battlefield. Everything around me either served my growth or it was removed. Remove the excess. Eliminate the noise. Make your space and your mind temples of concentration. If you are surrounded by people who are distracted, who consume more than they build, who complain more than they accomplish, walk away. Love from a distance. Because focus is contagious, but so is distraction, and you can't carry the weight of other people's distraction while trying to build your own life. I want you to apply this habit strictly for 7 days. Write down everything that is consuming your energy without return. All the tasks you do without a clear purpose, all the conversations, groups, digital habits, and people who steal your presence and your power. And then decide what will be kept and what will be eliminated. You will see that, in doing so, you will begin to regain something priceless, energy, and with it will come something even more powerful, clarity. Clear-minded people move mountains. Confused people stumble over pebbles. Most people are exhausted, not because they work too hard, but because they divide themselves too much. They are in 1,000 places, without really being in any. This needs to end. And it starts with a simple act, choosing, every day, what deserves your attention. At the end of this practice, you will notice a different kind of silence taking over your mind. It will not be the silence of emptiness, but of direction. A silence that organizes, that concentrates, that drives. And then, your every step will have weight. Every word, intention. Every decision, strength. Because you are no longer a hostage to distraction, and have become the master of your focus. And that's why right now, I want you to stop for 30 seconds. Take a deep breath, and answer internally, what has been draining my energy, with no return? What do I need to cut out now, in order to grow later? That answer will be the key to your next leap. And I want you to write it down in the comments. What is the first thing you will eliminate from your life in the next 7 days to protect your focus? Write it down as a pact, a commitment to your new self. This is the moment of truth. Now that you've started taking control of your mornings and protecting your focus with iron claws, it's time to incorporate the third habit that has shaped not only my business but my soul, the habit of quiet, progressive building every day. Without exception, this is the habit of non-negotiable consistency, the practice of moving forward, even if only a few millimeters a day, without waiting for motivation, without depending on applause, without falling into the traps of rushing. Most men who fail in life do so not because of inability, but because of impatience. They want immediate results, instant impact, validation at every step. I've seen many brilliant young people lose their way because they wanted to reap on the same day they sowed. And I've seen ordinary men become giants simply because they never stopped sowing. Do you want results in a week? Then understand this. In 7 days you may not conquer the world, but you can build the momentum that will take you there. Because those who master routine master destiny, and true power does not lie in occasional great achievements, but in small, daily victories accumulated with discipline. When I decided to start my empire, I had no capital. I had only knowledge, time, and an obsession with efficiency. My first move wasn't grand, it was repetitive. I studied every day. I wrote every day. I sought efficiency every day. I cut waste every day. And that disciplined repetition gave me an unshakable internal rhythm. I began to see the world as an engineer sees structures, with logic, solidity, and a long-term vision. The habit of quiet construction consists of performing essential actions every day. Even if the results have not yet appeared, it is waking up and doing what needs to be done, not what you feel like doing. It is sitting down and planning. It is working on your business, even when no one is watching. It is studying when others are resting. It is sharpening your mind when everyone else is distracted. It is building your health when no one values it. It's doing what matters because it's right. not because it's convenient. Here's the secret that few accept. Success is not the result of big moments. It's the invisible accumulation of small habits. Every day you build something, even if it's just a sentence written, a page read, a task performed with excellence. You are bringing the reality of what you envision closer to you. And the most powerful thing is that, over time, this silent construction begins to shout. The fruits appear, the structure grows, opportunities arise, and everyone starts calling what you know to be discipline luck. During the height of my career in the United States, while men were fighting for political power or flaunting their wealth, I just repeated my processes with greater precision. Steal, efficiency, reinvestment, steal, efficiency, reinvestment, a constructive obsession. I wasn't competing with other entrepreneurs, I was competing with my own limits, and that unwavering consistency made me unbeatable. You need to apply this habit immediately. Start by identifying 3 daily actions that, if performed consistently, will transform your life in 6 months. It could be writing for 30 minutes, studying 10 pages of a relevant book, doing a physical exercise, reviewing your goals, making strategic contacts. It doesn't matter what the area is. What matters is that they are small, executable actions that are aligned with your purpose. Once you have defined these 3 actions, you will make a pact with yourself. No day ends without these actions being done, none. Not even if you are tired, not even if it rains, not even if no one supports you, because that is the difference between those who live by will and those who live by decision. And here's the beauty of it. The more you repeat it, the more your identity changes. You stop being someone who wants to change and become someone who is disciplined. That's the real turning point. Daily construction isn't just about changing your external reality. It rebuilds the way you see yourself. And when your self-image changes, everything around you changes. But be careful, this habit only works if you eliminate the poison of comparison. Don't look at the progress of others. Look at your own. Comparison is the root of modern paralysis. You're not here to compete with anyone. You're here to surpass the person you were yesterday. 1 centimeter of progress per day for a year is a new human being at the end of 365 days. And if you doubt that, think about the logic of compound interest. $1 invested consistently multiplies over time. So does your discipline. Every small disciplined action adds up, strengthens, amplifies, and suddenly what seemed small has become huge. The habit of repetition is the invisible capital of winners. I want you to apply this 3rd habit for 7 days without fail. Choose 3 powerful actions. Do them every day. Mark them, record them, track them, and in the end, see how your mind will begin to trust you more. Because the greatest wealth you can build is trusting your own word. When you say, "I will do it," and you do it, your mind follows you. Your self-esteem grows. Your energy increases. Your destiny changes. Now tell me honestly, what are the 3 actions you will take in the next 7 days to build your new life, brick by brick, every day? Write them in the comments with clarity and conviction. Not for me, but for yourself. Because this is the first public commitment of your new identity, now that you are building, day after day, the solid foundation of your transformation. I want to reveal the 4th habit that literally changed the course of my career, not just in business, but in the way I view existence itself, the habit of selective alliance and strategic coexistence. If you ask me today what the biggest secret to my success is, I will answer without hesitation. I surrounded myself with people better than me. It's that simple. This is not a catchphrase, it is a philosophy of life. Because no empire, no matter how great its founder's vision, is built alone. Every great work is the result of the union of extraordinary minds. And every business tragedy I've seen unfold originated in the stubbornness of men who insisted on walking alone or with the wrong allies. This 4th habit has explosive power. Because it not only accelerates your growth, it defines your ceiling. you will inevitably be influenced by the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, their conversations, their habits, their mindset, their results, and if you insist on walking alongside those who live in fear, doubt, procrastination, and defeatist rhetoric, you will be contaminated. Not out of malice, but through coexistence. The mind is like steel. It takes the shape of the mold it is placed in. And the mold of your mind is determined by the voices you allow around you. That's why, when I started scaling my company, my priority was not to hire the cheapest people, but the ones who thought the most. I looked for men and women who had fire in their eyes, who delivered more than they promised, who breathed excellence. And when I found such talent, I promoted them, challenged them, and placed them close to me, because I knew greatness is contagious. You need to understand, once and for all, that the people you surround yourself with are the incubator of your destiny. And this is not just about business. If you are surrounded by people who complain about life, live in the nostalgia of the past, spend their days on social media, and wait for external miracles, it paralyzes you. But if you constantly expose yourself to the presence of people who think big, act with discipline, live with purpose, and are driven by vision, your inner world expands, and the outside world follows suit. This habit requires courage. Courage to walk away, courage to select, courage to lose ties that don't propel you forward. Many people don't grow because they are afraid of being alone for a while. They prefer mediocrity in a group to excellence alone. But the truth is that you often need to walk alone for a while until the right allies find you. And they will only find you if you are heading in the right direction. You must apply this habit methodically. Start by taking inventory of your social circle. Write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Then ask yourself, does this person bring me closer to or further away from my destiny? Be brutally honest. Ask yourself, does she live the life I want to live? Does she represent the future or the past? Does she inspire me or drain me? And it's not about judgment, it's about responsibility. You have a moral duty to protect your vision. Because it's not just yours, it will be a source of employment, inspiration, and legacy for many others. And if you don't defend that vision with relational intelligence, it will be diluted in futile conversations and fragile alliances. In my history, I selected my partners, my advisors, and even my friends with the same rigor with which I chose the materials for building iron bridges. I knew that one weak link would ruin everything. And that awareness made me cut ties that, although comfortable, prevented me from growing. Every time I promoted someone in my organization, I looked for one thing: a hunger for excellence. I didn't care about diplomas. I cared about character, consistency, and a thirst to build. You need to do the same. And I'm not saying you should cut everyone around you at once. But you need to start modulating the time and energy you devote to each relationship. Spend more time with those who expand you. Spend less time with those who limit you. And be strategic. Actively seek out people who are more experienced, wiser, and more disciplined than you. Read books by great minds. Watch transformative videos. Invest in mentors. Participate in communities with purpose. Because your exposure defines your expansion. And there is something even more powerful about this habit. When you connect with the right people, you activate synergies that multiply your pace. Ideas arise. Opportunities emerge. Honest feedback adjusts you. Life accelerates. But this only happens when you have the courage to say, I refuse to be dragged down by shallow mindsets. I am ready to grow and surround myself with those who are too. Now, look around you. Think about who you have allowed into your inner circle. And ask yourself coldly, does this person propel you forward or hold you back? The answer may hurt, but the truth sets you free. And you need that truth now if you want to experience real transformation in just 1 week. Because this is the habit that connects your individual discipline to your growth network. What you build alone is limited. But when you join other builders, your strength multiplies. The secret is simple: select, cultivate, and grow with the right people. We've reached the fifth habit, the one that sealed everything I've achieved, sustained my sanity under the greatest pressures, and kept me growing when everything seemed static. A simple but brutally neglected habit, the habit of strategic introspection. I want you to understand this with every fiber of your being. Those who don't stop to think repeat the same mistakes forever. And most people aren't living there, just reacting. They jump from task to task, problem to problem, notification to notification, like puppets of chaos. And they call it productivity. But productivity without awareness is just busyness. True growth begins when you create space to think, to evaluate, to recalibrate, to find your center again. In my life, I have always taken time to think alone, to think deeply, purposefully, without distractions. And I don't mean thinking anxiously or repetitively, but practicing the art of thinking with purpose. This is the most underrated exercise for success, because the modern world rewards those who act fast, but forgets that the biggest decisions are not born in haste, but in silence. During the building of the Carnegie Empire, I didn't make strategic decisions. Amid the noise, I stepped away. I wrote, I drew scenarios. I asked myself difficult questions, and in those solitary sessions of deep thinking, ideas were born that doubled profits, cut costs, and promoted leaders. I didn't act to look busy, thought to act better. You can apply this habit with simple tools. One of them is what I call the strategic daily review. At the end of each day, take 15 minutes just to reflect. Alone, in silence, with a pen and paper, write down 3 questions and answer them honestly. What did I do today that brought me closer to my destination? What did I do today that took me further away? What can I improve tomorrow? The power of these questions lies in repetition. They adjust your course before you stray too far. They reveal invisible patterns. They force you to face your truth. And it is from this truth that the new you begins to emerge. And this goes beyond productivity. This habit shapes character, because thinking requires courage. Courage to face inconsistencies, courage to admit that something needs to change, courage to see that much of what you called commitment was actually fear disguised as responsibility. And that clarity is what separates the leader from the worker, the strategist from the executor, the builder from the survivor. Another powerful exercise I have used throughout my life is future scenario projection. Once a week, I would sit down and visualize what my company, my assets, my team, and my influence would look like in 10 years. But not as a fantasy. I would go into detail. I would write it down. I would set milestones, dates, and necessary resources. This allowed my present to organize itself around a defined future. You need this, because if you don't visualize clearly, you live reacting to chance. And chance, my friend, is a terrible architect. The discipline of thinking builds an internal fortress. It makes you stop chasing after what seems urgent and start moving only for what is essential. But there is one important detail. This habit does not flourish in chaotic environments. You need to create a space for thinking. A place in your home, in your routine, in your schedule, where the world does not enter. It can be a quiet chair. It can be a park bench. It can be the interior of your car. The important thing is that there, you are the master of your time and your mind, and no one else. If you do this for 7 days, you will notice something extraordinary. Your mind will become clearer, more precise, more strategic. You will begin to anticipate problems, to see solutions that were previously hidden, to notice patterns of sabotage that went unnoticed, because when you stop to observe, you regain control. That's how I was able to predict market movements that others ignored, not because of genius, but because of habit. Because I made time to think while others just ran. And that's what I want you to practice. 15 minutes a day, a space just for you. 3 questions, real reflection, and a decision to improve. Every day, this small practice changes your performance, your attitude, and your perception of the world. And don't forget, thinking is also an act of generosity. Because when you become clearer, you lead better, you communicate better, you decide more wisely, and the impact of that multiplies. Leaders who don't think create confusing companies, parents who don't think create insecure children, investors who don't think lose fortunes. It all starts in the mind. Everything is built on clarity. So look inside yourself now and answer honestly. Have you been setting aside time to think? Or are you just reacting all day long? Are you clear about your next steps, or are you just putting out fires? This reflection may hurt, but it is what saves you, what heals you, what strengthens you, because only those who want to grow deeply think deeply. If you've made it this far, you're not the same person anymore. Something inside you has already started to change. And now, it's time to end this 7-day journey with what is, perhaps, the most important lesson I've learned in my entire life. Your life doesn't change when you learn something new. It changes when you decide to never be the same again. You've learned 5 habits that changed my life in a week, and each one of them has the power to rebuild your identity, your purpose, and your reality. But there is something that unites all these habits. Something invisible that separates those who apply them and grow from those who just listen and forget. And that force is called non-negotiable commitment to your transformation. Yes. The secret is not in the habits, it's in the commitment to them. Most people fail because they treat change as something optional. Like a test, like I'll try it for a week. But wealth, leadership, emotional mastery, and legacy building are not born from attempts. They are born from definitive decisions. And that's what I want you to understand right now. Either you take full responsibility for what you are building, or you will continue to outsource your results. You see, the world owes you nothing. God has already put everything you need inside you, but what you do with it is your responsibility. And if you don't take that power, someone else will use it against you. The media, fear, bad habits, bad company, scarcity patterns, they're all waiting for you to not take your power. But when you stand up, decide, act, and sustain, the world bows down before you. I started my journey as a poor Scottish boy in a cold basement, selling bread, then operating telegraphs, then investing every penny with surgical obsession. There was no magic. There was clarity, there was consistency, there were habits, and above all, there was an irrevocable choice. I will not accept an ordinary life. And it is that decision that I bring to you now. You already have the content. You have already learned the habits. What is missing is your commitment. Are you willing to wake up early, even when you are tired? Are you willing to cut out distractions, even if it hurts? Are you willing to build every day, even without applause? Are you willing to choose allies, even if it costs you friendships? Are you willing to think deeply, even when everything around you demands haste? Because if you are, there is no turning back. You have crossed the invisible line that separates spectators from builders. And it doesn't matter how old you are, your history, or your bank account. What matters now is your willingness to make your name a banner of excellence. To use your gifts to multiply value. To serve the world with strength, strategy, and heart. These 7 days were not a common challenge. They were a portal. And I guarantee, if you apply each habit with absolute discipline, in 7 days you will be a different person. Your energy will be different, your mind will be clearer, your voice will be firmer, your decisions will be more powerful, because you will be living as few live, with structure, with intention, with destiny. But I want to tell you something else. Something that only those who have experienced the heights and the silence can truly affirm. No achievement is worthwhile if it is not shared. No empire has value if it does not lift others up with you. And that is why I made my fortune and donated libraries. I built wealth and distributed wisdom. I educated men. I raised cities. Because the true measure of success is how much it transforms lives beyond your own. So when these habits bear fruit, and they will remember, give back, teach, share, inspire. Because the world doesn't just need millionaires needs conscious leaders. Men and women who build with ethics, with purpose, with vision. And that will be your legacy if you faithfully follow what you have learned here. You are not alone. There is an entire generation awakening right now. Men and women who, like you, have decided to break away from the status quo, who reject mediocrity, who live with a hunger for truth. And I want you to join them. Spread this vision. Pass this content on. Send it to those who need it. Create circles of transformation. And above all, live what you have learned. Because nothing is more powerful than a human being who lives with congruence, who thinks, feels, speaks, and acts with total alignment. That is true power. That is the new you. And now, to end this journey, I leave you with 3 words that define everything I have built, everything I have taught, and everything I want you to live from this day forward. Discipline, purpose, legacy. Discipline to maintain habits, even when motivation fails. Purpose to remember why you do everything, even when the winds change. And legacy so that when your journey ends, others will say, "He was here and left the world a better place." Now, it's your turn. If this video touched you, if something inside you was activated, share it with someone. Send this content to those who need to hear this truth. And if you want to continue receiving content like this, direct, intense, and transformative, subscribe to the channel now. We are just getting started. Build, grow, conquer, and never settle for less than extraordinary. See you at the top.